This is the Stewart homestead. It was built by my great-grandparents, George and Gertrude, in 1895. Family still lives in it. There was an original barn here built by my great-grandfather, but my grandfather built this barn in 1949. And during the construction of it, when they were pouring the foundation, he fell on a piece of lumber and nearly died. My dad was only 13, and it was up to him to run the farm with some help from his uncles while my grandfather was recuperating. For 10 days they didn't know whether he would survive, but he did, and he continued to live until I was 16, 1981. And the barn still stands, and this farm means the world to me. It's where I spent a lot of time when I was a kid, and still do, into my 50s. Further up the road is my dad's house. He built that 30 years ago. There's some of the pasture land. That old shed over there was the original cabin from, I think, my great-great-grandfather. This tree is special to our family. It has so much history. My dad estimates it's well over 300 years old. It's massive around the trunk. It was so big 200 years ago that the original settler of this land couldn't cut it. So he left it as a shade tree for his cattle. And my family has enjoyed it since we've been here, since 1836. My great-grandfather left it because it had grown even bigger, and it became a place where my uncles and my dad and my aunt used to play. There used to be a tree house up in this tree, probably down where the lowest branches are. And I remember the remnants of that tree house when I was a kid, but it was too old to play in. The boards had been rotten and it's since fallen down, and a lot of the branches have broken, but it still lives. I wonder how long it'll live. To me, it's sacred. There's something about this tree. It's just magical to me. There's bumps and there's a little hole you can see it on the trunk. I think some animals have taken shelter in it, little birds and squirrels. I love this tree. I hope it lives forever, but nothing ever does, so hopefully it'll be around for a long time to come, though. There's a little knot hole in there. Can you see it? I think some animals have probably lived in there from time to time. You see how big the branches are? That branch there, of course, it looks like it's rotting, but it still gets leaves every spring. Still provides shade for those who want to sit under it. It's a magical tree with very deep roots. See how big those roots are? Amazing to me. This tree is sacred. Look, there's another little softwood tree growing out of the base of it. It's huge. I love it. Can you imagine something living inside that hole in the tree? A squirrel, some birds. Perfect spot for hiding if you're small enough. My Uncle John took over the farm operation when my grandfather became old and frail. At 69 he had a stroke, so my uncle took over and ran it up until he was 76, when he passed away after having a heart attack while harvesting the blueberry crop on the farm. See how it's all grown up here? This used to be a cattle pasture, but probably about 13 years ago, my uncle sold the cattle just became too much to manage. I worry about what's going to happen to this place. If I had the money, I'd love to buy it. I'm sure it'll carry on. I just don't know if it'll carry on in our family. Because like most families, family farm operations eventually end when there's no one to farm. You know, I'm 55. There's no way that I could farm this land. I don't know how. My kids aren't farmers. We didn't grow up in it. And unfortunately, my uncle never married, never had children. So it's sad to me. It's heartbreaking, actually. I want this farm to continue. I have so many happy memories here. And if it is taken over eventually by some other family, I hope they love it as much as I love it. This place has been home for so many generations. My great-grandfather, 1895, my grandfather who took over, and then my uncle. It's amazing to me, multi-generations can be on a farm and have a living. We've gotten away from that. Factory farms have taken over, and small farming operations are dying. The death of the family farm, I think, is going to be something that we regret, because factory farms are not the answer. I think small farming operations where families have enough to sustain themselves and to share with others or to sell to others is the answer. Because really, those large factory farms, I don't think it's half as healthy as what's grown organically by one family. But that's just my opinion. Now, there's a lot of people who are coming back to these old ways of farming. Original homesteads are being rediscovered. New homesteads are being built by families. It's a good thing. Homesteading is a good thing. And unfortunately, the old ways have been forgotten by so many, but I think we're going to regret it. Look how this has grown up. There used to be so many cattle here. Now, a lot of the fields still are open and are still used for haying. And the hay used to be sold by my uncle to people who needed it. And now someone hays it and takes the hay for their own use, just to keep the fields clear. There's an old hay wagon. Oh, it's starting to rain. I think I'm going to go back inside. Oh, I'm going to get soaked before I get there. That barn? Oh, I had so much fun in that barn when I was a kid. We used to climb in the haymow, play with kittens who were born in there, and wild. You'd get scratched if you tried to catch them, if you could catch them. It's an amazing place to be a kid. I had so much fun here with my brother and sister. We'd come up from Nova Scotia to spend time here with my grandparents. Look at this view. This view. Mountains off into the distance. Ooh, see those clouds? Heavy rain's coming. Love this place. It's just like a picture. Anyway, I'm going to finish my walk, and I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.